Welcome to Hot Takes on the Classics. Before we begin today's show, please go like us on the podcast platform of your choice. We'd love it, especially if you wrote us a glowing review. And now on with our second season, a season on love.
Two households, both alike in dignity. In fair Verona, where we lay our scene, from ancient grudge break to new mutiny, where civil blood makes civil hands unclean. From forth the fatal loins of these two foes, a pair of star-crossed lovers take their life, whose misadventured, piteous overthrows do with their death bury their parents' strife. Welcome to Hot Takes on the Classics, a gossipy gallop through the best books ever written. My name is Emily Maeda, and those were the opening lines from Romeo and Juliet by William Shakespeare. I am joined by Tim McIntosh for our season on love. This season, we are reading literature about love. Specifically, this portion is on Eros, desiring love or romantic love. So, Tim, famous lines. Romeo and Juliet.
Emily, do you think this is the most famous piece of literature maybe in the world, Romeo and Juliet?
I don't know. Do you?
I think it's up there. I think it might be.
Do you?
I mean, oh man, what rivals it?
I guess so.
The Odyssey, maybe?
Yeah, for sure. Let's try the Bible.
Yeah, I might disqualify the Bible because I think it's, of course, it's literature, but like higher claims than that.
Odyssey. Okay, when you say famous piece of literature, maybe the story. Is that what you mean? Just the story, like the outlines of the story.
Right.
Yeah, I give you that.
I don't know that everyone's curling up with their edition of Romeo and Juliet, the Folgers, second edition or anything like that. But it's such a well-known story.
It's a well-known story.
It's unforgettable. I remember the first time that I heard the story or maybe saw a movie, we got to the end and both of our characters died. I thought, wait.
What?
A mistake has been made. This is not how it's supposed to end. Right. Do you remember the first time that you read it?
I think I heard a children's retelling of it because, you know, Romeo, wherefore art thou, right? Like it has probably more than many other classics stayed in the vernacular. Also,
right.
West Side Story, which I didn't realize as a child was Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah.
Because you don't realize that when you're young.
Right.
But then think about the movie Leonardo DiCaprio, right?
Yes.
The movie redos. Baz Luhrmann, is that
Baz
his
Luhrmann.
name?
Did you like it?
I don't think I ever saw it. Sorry.
Oh, Emily, it's so good.
I don't think
it's so good. Don't let anybody tell you it's not brilliant because it's absolutely fantastic.
Okay, it's good.
It's really, really good.
And
it's a great way to introduce young people to
Shakespeare.
Romeo and Juliet because it moves really quickly. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think from that point, it has to be Shakespeare's, as much as it pains me to say it, most well-known play.
I think so. Mm-hmm. You wish that it was Hamlet or Lear or...
don't you? Yeah. I mean, don't you?
I love Romeo and Juliet, so I'm not going to quibble with it.
Okay.
I love it. I love it. I think it's a little bit of a victim of its own success.
Yeah, fair. I think you're right.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a question, as we are wont to do with each other at the beginning of shows.
Yes.
And I want to open it for discussion, but I am going to give my answer to the question as part of my hot take. Okay?
Oh, okay.
But I would love to have some discussion on it. All right. My question, I'm going to ask the question, then I'm going to give a kind of some qualifying features around the question, and then we can talk about it.
Okay.
Are Romeo and Juliet being punished in this play, this very, very sad play, for a character flaw or character flaws? That's my question. So the background of the question is we define a tragedy classically as when the main character, or I guess in this case, potentially, the main characters are punished because of a character flaw. So we read about Creon, the king in Antigone. He's published for his stubborn pride. He loses his son because of his stubborn pride. Shakespeare's Macbeth. He's punished for his o'erleaping ambition, you know. He's deposed as king and beheaded because he's just too ambitious. Willy Loman, a very contemporary-ish play written in the 50s. In Death of a Salesman, he's punished for his character flaws. Are Romeo and Juliet being punished for their character flaws?
Okay, can I quibble with your definition of tragedy?
Sure.
Because I kind of like the definition of tragedy as being like tragic misrecognition, you know, that there's something that and maybe this slightly changes it, because there's something that the character is unwilling to see or unable to see, which leads to their downfall. Punishment sounds retributive, right? But in that sense, if it were tragic misrecognition, like the inability to see themselves and their flaws, wouldn't that be maybe different? And then I could say Romeo and Juliet did suffer from that.
And so what would be the thing that they did not recognize?
They did not recognize how deeply divided their families were,
I see.
right? Or
Okay.
that their love would not survive the animosity of the families. And that's a tragic misrecognition because it cost them their lives.
Do you think if they had recognized that they would have not gotten married, had their romantic
I don't know.
quest together? Yeah.
I don't know.
I kind of think they would have gone for it anyway.
I know. But anyway, tell me, do you think that they're being punished if we accept your tragedy definition?
I'd be like scooping my own hot take.
Okay.
If I told you.
Okay, don't tell me. But anyway, but I kind of like that better. Okay, Macbeth is like a clear tragic figure because he is really evil, but like Lear, you know what I mean? He refuses to see what he needs to see.
You know what this question is, Emily? It's kind of a question of human nature.
It is.
So, do we know our faults do we know the right and choose against it? Or have we kind of like blinded ourselves? Or are we blind willingly or semi-consciously? And because we are blind, we don't choose the good.
Yeah.
Like that's a deep human nature
It is.
question.
It sure
and I
is.
would say total rabbit trail. I think the great Greek philosophers, Plato, Socrates, Aristotle, and the great Christian and Jewish theologians, I think they have a different view on that. Mm-hmm. I think the Greeks are going to say, you choose the good if you see it. And the Christians would say something like,
you may, but you often don't.
You might know the good and you'll choose the opposite
and you
anyway.
still choose the opposite.
Right? This is kind of Augustine, like a basic point from Augustine.
But nonetheless, it is a good question here because this is called a tragedy, but I don't want to scoop your hot take. But Romeo and Juliet do not fit the mold of most tragic heroes.
Agreed. That's right. And that will be part of my hot take.
Okay, I won't
let's
say
talk
anymore.
about our main characters. I'm not going to go into the whole panoply of characters because there are a lot, and there's a lot of great characters in this play. But let's just start with Romeo. Mm-hmm. Romeo belongs to the Montague family. Mm-hmm. And in some ways, the play opens with him looking very much like a lot of other young men in Shakespeare's plays. He is kind of, how would you describe him? He's very idealistic. Mm-hmm. But unlike a lot of Shakespeare's young male plays who are in search of sex, we are doing like these episodes are concentrating on eros. Mm-hmm. He is in search of ideal love. Mm-hmm. And I think what's really interesting about him is that I think at the beginning of the play, Romeo is in love with love.
He's in love with love. Yeah.
He's in love with love.
Yep.
And accordingly, all of his rhapsodizing and his poetry on love is very mediocre before he meets Juliet. So an example, Act 1, Scene 1, he has been completely head over heels with another woman, not Juliet. Yeah. He's not met Juliet yet. And she's not in love with him. He feels terrible. He's completely lovesick. And he says, "Oh, brawling love. Oh, loving hate.
Oh, dear.
Oh, anything of nothing first create. Oh, heavenly lightness, serious vanity. And you're like,
come on.
Romeo, come on.
Good job, Shakespeare, making him seem vacuous and silly.
Yeah, and wooden. That poetry is really wooden and artificial. And so everything changes when he first gets sight of Juliet. And I love Shakespeare. This is one of the things that if you know Shakespeare, if he loves a character, that character speaks with great eloquence. And if he doesn't like a character, that character is going to be kind of wooden and not very poetic. After Romeo meets Juliet, everything about his diction and eloquence changes. So,
can I ask you a question before you do that? It seems to me, do you think, we were talking about Dante and sort of lyric love poetry of the Middle Ages. Do you think do you think Shakespeare is slightly mocking some of that here?
Yes.
He's
in those
like that
lines,
courtly love, right?
Definitely he is.
Isn't it? So it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
It's a very good mockery.
Yes. Okay, keep going.
When Romeo and his buddies sneak into the masked ball that's being hosted by Juliet's family, they're there to kind of carouse and have a good time and change Romeo's mood since his girlfriend is not going to get with him. So they go to have a good time and he's all lovesick. And then everything in the universe changes when Romeo looks across the ballroom and he sees Juliet. And so just listen to the lines. The lines are so great immediately. What lady is that which doth enrich the hand of yonder knight? Oh, she doth teach the torches to burn bright. It seems she hangs upon the cheek of night like a rich jewel in an Ethiop's ear, beauty too rich for use, for earth too dear. And he goes on. It's really good. It just gets better and better. Yeah.
Read these famous lines that maybe if you don't know any Shakespeare, you know these.
So this is next act. Romeo has snuck into Juliet's backyard and he's looking up at her balcony, hoping just for a glimpse of her, that she'll come out before she goes to sleep and he'll see just a glimpse of her. But soft, what light through yonder window breaks? It is the east, and Juliet is the sun. Arise, fair sun, and kill the envious moon, who is already sick and pale with grief, that thou her maid art far more fair than she.
I love it.
It's great.
I have to say, my son spoke these words for you in a Shakespeare production. I was like, oh.
Yep. And he did really well. He did really well.
Look at him. And embodying these words with such care. Anyway, it's great to see.
And he was, in rehearsals, we were kind of like, hey, buddy, you've got to feel these things. And I think at performance time, he did feel them. I thought he did great. The words pull it out of you.
They do.
In a way that those early lines that we hear from Romeo, oh, brawling love.
Yeah.
Oh, loving hate. Oh, anything of nothing. It's like it doesn't pull it out of you.
No.
But these great lines do. Juliet. Do you remember how old Juliet is according to the text of the play?
I mean, she's super young, right? She's an early teen, which sometimes is hard for us to get into our mind. But girls were married like 15, 16, right? That was pretty standard.
She was 13. About to turn on 4. We hear from her nurse that she's about to turn 14, but she's 13. So, excuse me, earlier, there was a kind of tradition for a while in Shakespeare performance to cast them kind of old, Romeo and Juliet.
Oh, interesting.
There's a famous Gone with the Wind actor, Leslie, I can't remember his last name, Howard.
Yes.
He plays Romeo, and I think he's 35 years old, and Juliet is in her late 20s, early 30s or something like that. And it's like, I'm glad that tradition changed. I get that it's 13. Oh my gosh, it's really young.
Yeah.
But it does seem like she and Romeo are very age appropriate. He's not, we don't get his age, but he's got to be
young.
Close. Yeah, he's young.
Right.
He's young.
Right.
In the movie that we were talking about earlier, Leonardo DiCaprio is 21 during the filming.
Okay.
Claire Danes as Juliet is 16. So really close to the original, what the text says.
And that fits, right? Because there is that sense of new love, right?
Yes, that's right.
Which like
That's right.
you can't get with sort of older, like it doesn't fit. There's an innocence to their love.
There is. Juliet, though innocent, is wise beyond her years.
Yes,
Juliet is
not
one
naive.
of the not naive,
But
one
innocent.
of the most underrated female characters in all of literature, which sounds like I'm contradicting myself because I'm saying this might be the best known piece of literature maybe in the world, but I really do stand by it that I think people think of Juliet as sort of like a type of innocent love. But if you read the words that she says,
Yeah.
she's an incredible character, wise beyond her years, willing to show wisdom and caution and prudence
Yes.
in a moment where anybody else would just be rushing forward into something that might not last.
Yeah.
So Romeo, the night that they meet, is headlong in love. Let's go for it all the way. And what does she says? Caution. She says,
Yeah.
although I joy in thee, I have no joy of this contract tonight. It is too rash, too unadvised, too sudden, too like the lightning, which doth cease to be ere one can say it lightens.
Yeah. She is so innocent is different than naive. And I think we confuse those, right?
Yeah.
Because innocent has a purity to it, but naivete is like without thought. And that's so maybe from our previous discussion about Dante and creating compelling and good female characters, maybe Juliet fits into that category of a compelling and good female character.
Yes. Right.
Right? Because she is compelling because she's
so compelling.
Between the two of them, she's far more thoughtful. Can I say that? Yeah, I think I can.
Yeah, I think so.
She's far more thoughtful, but she's also really funny. Like her interactions with the nurse, which you haven't even mentioned.
Very good.
She's very funny.
Yeah.
She's not the trouble with portraying the good is that it seems like you said about Beatrice, out of experience, like not like being prim and proper and your hands folded, but you don't get that feeling from Juliet. She's an enfleshed character. She
is. I love the lines. The nurse goes to deliver a message to Romeo on Juliet's behalf. The nurse returns and is going to report Romeo's reply to Juliet. The nurse is such a great character. The
She's
nurse
so
pauses
funny.
and talks about, that's a really attractive man.
Yeah.
The shape of his leg.
Tell me.
Right. Yeah. And the line from Juliet is when the nurse says, don't ask me. I am too out of breath to report what I heard. And Juliet says something to the effect of, how can you say you were too out of breath when you have breath enough to tell me you're too out of breath?
Yeah.
Come on. She's every bit the poet that Romeo is. So a couple more lines from her. On her wedding night, Juliet says, in a little bit of a mirror of Romeo's comparison of her to the sun, give me my Romeo, and when he shall die, take him and cut him out in little stars, and he will make the face of heaven so fine that all the world will be in love with night and pay no attention to the garish sun.
So good.
Act 3, Scene 2, just one more bit from Juliet. She's learning. This is after they have had a secret marriage with Brother Lawrence. Brother Lawrence marries them in secret. So they can't reveal to anyone that they're in love, that they're married. And so Romeo has to steal into her room at night, even though they're married, for fear of their families finding out. So Juliet is yearning for the night to come so that Romeo can come silently to her. And she says, gallop apace, you fiery-footed steeds, and bring in cloudy night immediately. Spread those close-curtain love-performing night, that runaways' eyes may wink, and Romeo leap into these arms untalked of and unseen.
Beautiful.
What's really interesting about the play, Emily, is the structure. There is a sharp turn midway through the play. So the very opening of the whole play, we see the conflict, not just in the prologue, but we see a fight kind of in the streets between the two families. And then it switches into almost a marriage or a comedy plot.
Yes, right.
Right? So lots of young men making funny, lewd remarks. There's a masked ball. There's dancing and music and singing. And then Romeo meets Juliet. He goes to her balcony. He climbs up to be closer to her. And they're married at the end of Act 2. And you're like, we could have a happily ever after here, and it would feel like maybe like Much Ado About Nothing or As You Like It.
Right. That's what I was just thinking.
Right.
But
beginning of Act 3, oh man, the comedy swings around and moves into a very fast acting and almost faded feeling tragedy.
It does have that. Well, and if you don't know, Act 3 is always the crucial act, right? In Shakespeare, always the crucial act. And so
it's the turn.
It's the turn.
Juliet's cousin Tybalt kills Romeo's best friend Mercutio. Romeo retaliates, and you have so much sympathy for Romeo because it's not just that his best friend, but the way that Tybalt killed Mercutio is so dastardly.
So it is.
Romeo retaliates. He kills Tybalt. Romeo is banished by the Duke of Verona, so he's gone. Meanwhile, Juliet's father, who's a real cad, I think, in this play, orders her to marry Paris within 3 days. Can I pause and tell you a story, Emily?
Please.
I saw Romeo and Juliet performed in the park in downtown Seattle.
Oh, nice.
And I was sitting behind a guy who had a hard time in life. He was, I suspect he was living on the street somewhere. He had a bottle with him. He was probably 40. And I think he was pretty well gone. He had been drinking a lot that night. He was so enraptured by this play.
Oh.
And when Juliet's father marries her off, kind of pledges her without her permission or consultation to Paris, he is yelling, my guy is yelling at the dad at how unjust and wrong it is. And he was torn up.
Oh, I love that so much.
I love it so much too.
Because it's the right response.
Exactly right.
And Shakespeare probably would be more fun if all audiences did that.
I know.
Which is what audiences did in Shakespeare's time.
They did.
They were letting the actors know how they felt about how the playwright did with his writing.
After Juliet's father orders her to marry Paris, Juliet kind of was like, okay, I'm going to go along with it, but of course I'm never going to go along with it. So to escape her fate, and in consultation with Father Lawrence, she downs a potion that will simulate her death. Oh man, it's starting to get really dangerous here. Upon hearing of Juliet's, quote, death, Romeo rushes to her grave, finds Paris there. Paris like fights him. Romeo kills Paris kind of in self-defense, rushes into the crypt, thinks that Juliet is dead. He's done. There's no more life left for him. So he drinks poison.
Don't tell the story. Don't tell the story.
It's so heartbreaking. If he had just waited a couple more minutes, the play could have ended joyfully. She would have woken up from her medically induced coma. But no, a second after Romeo drinks the poison, Juliet wakes, finds her husband's corpse, and turns his sword on herself.
This is one of those stories where I already know how it ends, but as you're telling it,
I know.
My feeling is, don't do it. Just stop. Make it stop. That is my feeling. I know this story, but that's how you feel. You feel like, no.
It's almost like once Tybalt kills Mercutio and we know that Romeo is going to avenge his death, it feels like all of the dominoes are going to fall.
Yes. Yeah,
we don't know exactly how it's all going to fall, but we know they're all going to fall.
It's like, it's the feeling of, you've had this with different situations in life where you're watching the train wreck and there is nothing you can do to stop it.
Yep.
You're seeing all of these things happen and there goes the train. I mean, that is the power of tragedy, right? Because it sort of names that feeling that we've all had in different situations. Maybe not to this extent, but still that feeling of like, how could all of these things come together like this at this point? And if something had just intervened, it could have been.
One little thing.
It could have been stopped.
It's so funny because there are all of these choices that could have been made along the way. So how does it both feel that way, that one character making one choice in a different direction could have stopped everything, and yet at the same time, it feels completely faded. I think this is, by Shakespeare, like mastercraft.
It really is.
In plotting. Because it
really
feels
is.
Inevitable.
And
yet fragile at the same time.
Fragile, yeah. This is a pre-existing story, right, that he writes.
It is, yep.
But, okay, do you have something else, or can I ask you a question?
Please, no.
I'm thinking about sort of what we learn about love from this, because there is the feeling, and this is for sure runs through Shakespeare's other plays and is deeply within sort of the medieval Renaissance mindset. Like there is a feeling of being under the stars. They're called star-crossed lovers, right? That like there's an influence from outside of them that brings them together. And there is that also that feeling of like they're compelled by something outside of themselves. But unlike Francesca and Paolo, who we read about in the last one, this seems to be a well-ordered love. I mean, I guess we can see that through Juliet, that even though she is deeply in love, she still is thinking about it. She's still thinking like, okay, I need to know that you're committed, right? You know, she's not just headlong.
Right.
But anyway, what are your comments on what we sort of glean from romantic love from this play?
I think it's both it's a barely controllable passion, maybe like Francesca and Paolo in the Divine Comedy.
Or it's the experience of ecstasy, maybe we should say, of being brought outside.
That's a better way of saying it. Yeah.
Being brought outside of ourselves.
And yet it too must also be mastered. There's art must come to bear in the formation of this.
Yes.
And if you look at it, and this is going to be part of my hot take.
Okay, don't say it.
Romeo and Juliet do everything right.
They do.
Right? The only thing they don't potentially do right is get their families involved.
Right.
But if they get their families involved, they'll never be together.
Right.
But they're not sleeping together before they get married.
Right.
They get married.
And they commit. They commit. They want this to flow out.
They are clearly a good match. They're marrying people of character, of equal rank, of equal learning.
Mm-hmm.
So in a lot of ways, it's like exactly what they do everything right. The big impediment is their families would never
society.
In 100 years. Yeah. And it's not that one family is good and one family is bad. These are... It's just a blood feud at this point. It doesn't matter who started what. It's a total blood feud.
Yeah. I have a little bit of a hot take too, but I'm not going to say my hot take before you say your hot take.
Okay, I want to hear your hot take. Here's my hot take. Anyway. Okay. Romeo and Juliet is not a classic tragedy.
I agree with
They're
you.
They're not condemned for some character flaw. Sometimes it has been popular to read this play as a character flaw they both share is youthful indiscretion.
Yeah, that they're too carried away, that the love is flawed or something, right?
Yeah.
That they want to say, you shouldn't have, gone forward. Yeah.
It's true they're young. It's true they're hot-blooded. But do they do anything wrong? They don't.
No, and I think from your point with Juliet, she is self-reflective. This isn't an example of... I think you get the critique, just like you pointed out with Romeo at the beginning. That is faulty love. Love and hate, like this sense of, right, like, oh, I love you so much, I hate you, right? Which is definitely a feature of how Eros is portrayed. That's faulty, but that is not what Juliet brings out in, I'm in
Yes.
agreement with you.
The real penalty, if there is a tragic punishment, that punishment is applied to the parents of Romeo and Juliet.
Yes, and in some ways, Romeo and Juliet are almost sacrificial victims.
Yes.
Right?
Listen to the last lines, not the very last lines, but the last words that are spoken between the fathers of of these dead children. So here is the father of the Montague family, an enemy, an absolute enemy to Juliet's family.
Mm-hmm.
He says to the father of the Capulet family, I will raise Juliet a statue in pure gold, that while Verona by that name is known, there shall no figure at such rate be set as that of true and faithful Juliet. Oh my gosh.
Beautiful.
Like, what a word to say against, like, the daughter of your worst enemy. And now his worst enemy, the enemy of Romeo, replies, as rich shall Romeo's by his ladies lie, poor sacrifices of our enmity. In other words, our enmity dies with them.
This. So this is so good because the tragic misrecognition is the tragic misrecognition of the families.
I think so.
And Romeo and Juliet are almost Christ-like figures because they suffer an unjust fate. Sort of like if we're thinking of Antigone, Creon's son, right? Creon's wife, they all die, but it's not, they're not flawed, right? They are actually trying to point out the flaw that Creon has. So
that's right.
Maybe, so in that sense, like it's the families that are the tragic figures, not Romeo and Juliet. So is that a confusion of, what is that a confusion of?
The classical definition of tragedy?
I guess so. I guess, yeah. Shakespeare's just tweaking it.
Can I go one step further? This is now speculation. I am sure that dissertations have been written about this. I have not read them. But I visited Shakespeare's home, his birthplace, the school that he attended.
Now, hold on.
Yeah.
You just wanted to tell me that Shakespeare wasn't a real man but a composite. So are you back to Shakespeare as a real man?
If I have to vote, I vote that Shakespeare is a real man, the glovemaker's son from Stratford-upon-Avon.
Okay.
I am open to the idea that it might be somebody else. But if I had to guess and vote, I vote that it's the glovemaker's son.
Okay, just good to know. Good to know.
Yeah.
We're back to that. So that's what you're going with.
No, I don't know that I ever left that.
Okay, keep going.
It was a mild flirtation.
Okay, good to know. Keep going. Anyway, you went to his house.
So we did a little tour of his school also.
Yeah.
And in the school, in the kind of base floor of the school, he would have met upstairs in the classroom. The city council would have met in the first floor of that school. And Shakespeare's father, for formative years in his life, would have been the top-ranking political official in Stratford-upon-Avon.
Interesting.
One of the tour guides made a note that artists who were planning artistic works, plays, paintings, etc., would come in and deliver a defense in front of the city council for what they wanted to create.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where, the tour guide said, Shakespeare would have heard firsthand how artists were able to use their art in a way that appealed to the benefactors of the city.
Oh, okay.
Yes, and getting around the censors of the city. And so I was like, oh, yeah, Shakespeare is absolutely expert at this, at saying something without ever saying it.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Romeo and Juliet. I just want you to think about how their story maps on what is happening in bright fury in England at the time of Shakespeare's life. The conflict, and our conflict by comparison is nothing compared to this, is between Catholics and Protestants.
And it's a
warring
bloodbath.
families. It's a blood feud.
Yeah.
It's an absolute blood feud. And of course it's about religious convictions.
Right.
But at the time, but for the common people, I don't know how, there would have been some basic theological differences, I think, that most people could articulate as the differences between Protestants and Catholics. But a lot of it was just, it's a loyalty test.
Yeah.
Right? And I just wonder, is Shakespeare has placed this play on the kind of social rupture between Catholics and Protestants, and I can't help but think that people are thinking, oh my goodness, look at what happened to these two innocent ones, and look at, because of this blood feud between these two massive warring religious, political, social tribes.
That's a really good hot take. It has, it had to enter, hopefully it entered into people's minds. Because
it had to.
There were certainly, this was certainly being experienced by people, right? Like, you fall in love with a Catholic boy and you're a Protestant girl. What are you going to do?
Right. What are you going to do? What's your hot take, Emily?
Well, I kind of forgot it now.
Oh, no.
Well, I think it had to do with just the fact that as I was thinking about it and sort of, comparing Francesca and Paolo and Romeo and Juliet, who on the surface, in some ways, talk about love in a similar way, right? But Francesca and Paolo's love orients towards a dead end. And what you can see with Romeo and Juliet, because of their sort of self-sacrificial love, it brings life and wholeness, right? So their death, in that they're sort of Christ-like. Their sacrifice enables new life to come, right?
In some ways, you could probably argue there's no way but their death for these
this
families
to happen.
To be, yeah.
Yes, and in that way, it's very different than other tragedies, because other tragedies
very.
end with no light, no hope, right? And this actually has this sort of dawning horizon at the end of it. Even though it's come at the great cost of these two people who we now love, like, there is this sense that life is coming from their death. Anyway,
that's right.
That was my hot take.
Rapid questions.
Okay.
Romeo and Juliet. This is an easy one, I think. I hope. Romeo and Juliet or Much Ado About Nothing?
Oh, darn.
Uh-oh.
Well, I think I'm going to disappoint you.
Uh-oh. Emily?
I think I'm going to say Much Ado About Nothing, but that's just because of youthful attachment. Sorry.
Like, you love the 90s movie? The Kenneth Branagh?
I did, because I had a crush on Kenneth Branagh for sure.
Okay, a sign of your good taste, but still.
It's just a youthful attachment. I don't think I had an experience with Romeo and Juliet. Do you know what I mean? I don't think I had an experience with it. And I think too much of the drivel, you know what I mean? I was accompanied by too much of the drivel. Because if I think West Side Story, do you know how much I love West Side Story? I love West Side Story.
Do you really?
I love it. Such good writing, Leonard Bernstein.
But why did you lump that in with drivel?
I didn't. I'm just saying, if I had associated those two stories more closely together.
I understand.
You see what I'm saying?
You would have had more sympathy. I
probably didn't feel the profundity of their love, because there is a way to read it in which it's like, oh my gosh. You know what I mean?
There is.
Which that's my own failing. That's my own failing. I'm not saying I'm right here.
Romeo's banishment or Juliet's forced marriage to Paris? Which was worse?
Oh, Juliet's forced marriage to Paris, 100%.
Because she could have gone and met him in banishment, and they would have done probably just fine. But the forced marriage to Paris,
that's terrible. Banishment is not anything like being forced to marry someone.
The passionate balcony scene or the heartbreaking tomb scene?
Oh, the passionate balcony scene, because that's still, nobody's dead. But the end is so... it is so hard to endure.
It really is. It really is.
So hard to endure.
Emily.
That was great, Tim. Thanks.
We made it. We knew we had to suffer.
I know. It seriously makes me suffer to hear you retell the story.
I know. What a testament to the power of this piece of art. It's just so wonderful. Hey, we want to thank our producer, as always, the beloved Clark Stefanik, Tom Hagerman, who wrote and performed our music. Coming up, 2 wonderful stories of romance: Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen, and Emily, maybe my favorite book of all time.
I know. I know some people are really excited to hear us do Anna Karenina, so excited to do it.
I'm excited to hear us do Anna Karenina. Hey, see you next time.
Okay, see you soon.